Welcome back to Compost Cocktails in my English Oxfordshire garden. It's heading towards the end of October here and halfway through autumn already. There are plenty of jobs left to keep me busy in the garden, and I'm going to share a bit of that with you today. So first up is some composting, and you'll have seen from my previous videos that composting is a really important and sustainable part of my garden. But I simply have more pears than I can compost in the bins. So today I'm going to clean up what's left and what's rotting on the ground because it's not adding much value to the grass, and I'm going to place it in somewhere different. The pears that are left on the ground now are all pretty rotten. Most of them came down during Storm Amy and were already sort of rotten on the tree. So this is a waste product now. It's too wet to go in the compost. It'll just make the compost sloppy. So I'm putting them in this plastic trug. So when we moved in, this hedge wasn't here. I planted it in the autumn of 2022, so about 3 years ago, as bare root whips. And it's a mixture of native hedging of hawthorn and blackthorn. And it's done really, really well in the first few years, but it does need to be kept watered and kept fed just whilst it establishes. At the moment, there's about 5 or 6 inches of wood chip at the bottom, which is acting as a mulch, but also to keep the water retention in. So I think layering over the rotting pears on top of the wood chip is going to create a really healthy mix of brown and greens to create the compost for the floor underneath. And I think that's going to provide a really good boost of nitrogen and feed the plants over winter. So this is my theory. We'll give it a go. If in the spring nothing grows back, then everybody knows not to try this at home. But I suspect in the spring I'll have a really healthy surge of growth across this hedge, and in the meantime it'll provide really good nutrients to the soil with the mix of the two materials. And I quite like the fact that I'm leaving this out for nature, so that if there are wasps and insects and creatures that are feeding on the pears, they still have that available to them. So join me back in the spring and we'll take a look at how it goes. So today I want to show you how I take cuttings because they're so easy to multiply your plants. First up, I find a bit of green material that doesn't have any flower attached to it. With salvias, I just break this away from the main stem because I find that the little bit of sort of sinuous fibre that comes with the plant is what actually creates the roots. So I've got another salvia here. This is slightly more sort of woody, this one, but you can see the green shoots at the side. So for these cuttings to propagate, I will remove all of the leaves except for the top two and then plant these into some moist compost and keep warm and keep nice and sort of damp on the compost. These are the erigeron or Mexican fleabane seedlings that I potted on about a month ago now, and you can see that the roots are really starting to build and that these plants have become really quite healthy. But just to show you the comparison, these are the ones that are left out from where I pricked them out, and look how small these are in comparison. So it really does show how important it is to move these seedlings into their individual pots or containers, and pricking them out really does make a big difference. So I've also potted up some of the Sedum Atlantis cuttings. So these have sprouted, got a great root system, and are now going into individual pots to grow through. And I'll plant these out in the spring. I actually can't believe just quite how easy it is to take cuttings for sedums and pot these on. They're a great way to multiply your plants, and if you've got rabbits like me, they don't like sedums. And again, just to demonstrate the difference between pricking out and not, these are Sweet William seeds, home-saved seeds from my mum's garden that I planted out, sowed out on the 13th of August. And although this is really healthy and there's a great root system at the bottom, I actually pricked a load of these out into individual set plants, and look at the size difference in them. They are double the size. So the difference in actually planting these out and pricking individual plants out so that the roots can breathe and really develop makes all the difference in the strength and the growth of the plants. This is a tray of some new sedum cuttings that I've just done in the last week or so, and I've just snapped the green growth off of these and then planted them in some compost. So it'll take a few weeks before these start to grow roots, but I'm hoping that these will grow just as well as some of the other varieties that I've got. I really do find sedum easy to take root. So just an update on the salvias. These are growing really well. These were only a couple of inches tall when I took them off the plant. So this much growth just means they're going to be really good, healthy plants. I could actually cut these again and propagate more cuttings from them, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave these and just make them really strong and healthy. But you can see that the roots are really coming through. So these are really happy plants here. I've also been taking plenty of cuttings from the verbenas. So I actually find verbena quite difficult to grow from seed, and they don't tend to self-seed in my garden either. And I'm not really sure why. So I take cuttings all throughout the year. I've just taken some more now. And again, the root formation on these is crazy. So this probably needs potting on again, but a really strong and healthy plant. And these are slightly newer cuttings. You can see just the difference in terms of size compared to what the last one had grown to. So cuttings really are such an effective way of multiplying your plants. Now, the main aim for any cuttings that you take is for them to create really healthy root growth. And this one is doing great, but there's also quite a lot of leafy growth on the top. And I can see a couple of flower buds. So I'm going to take those off just to encourage a lot more healthy growth. I could take it below the nodes here and create a couple more cuttings, but actually I'm just going to take the tops off, which is where the flower heads are forming, and that should encourage lots of good root growth. Kitchen garden, the salad bed is still producing lots and lots of leaves. I'm just putting out a couple of rogue plants that have self-seeded in my other plants, and I'm just moving these along. But you can see that I've got a really healthy bed of salad leaves. I've got spring onions, there are beetroot, and there are plenty of things that are still growing even in this October weather. So don't be frightened to continue to plant lots of salad leaves and seedlings for your salads and your winter veg. So you may remember that I talked about chilies and pepper plants both being perennials. They tend to die off in the UK climate because of the cold, but if you actually bring them indoors, they will last for quite a few years. So I've brought a couple of my plants in last month. This is a Scotch bonnet, and then I've also got a pepper, and both of these I'm going to overwinter, with the idea being that they'll be strong plants and ready to grow quite a bit earlier in the season next year in comparison to growing them from seed. Scotch bonnets are a pretty spicy, warm chili. They're great in Caribbean cooking, and I like to freeze them and just put them straight into a curry whole. Then I can remove the chili at the end, and you still get plenty of the heat and plenty of the flavour. So these are destined to the freezer. Kitchen gardens really produce a lot of tomatoes this year, and this is the last of the ripe harvest. I've got some storage tomatoes. There are some indigo rose variety here, this black cherry. I have yellow pear, which is a really beautiful variety, and it's continuing to fruit even now. Then I've also got burlesque and some cherries. So today I'm going to be making a sauce for these to go into. I've added a whole Brie in the centre and some olive oil, and then I'm just chopping these up into sort of small-ish pieces so that they roast down nicely and release lots of juice. I've added homegrown basil, garlic, plenty of seasoning, and a chopped pepper as well. So this is slow roasted in the oven now for about 20-25 minutes until the tomatoes were releasing all of their liquid and caramelised and plenty of flavour has come out. And then I just mash everything together to create a sauce for the pasta. This takes a little bit of time, but it really just makes it nice and nice liquid to coat the pasta. To finish this really simple dish, I've just added pasta and some sausages, and this was just a great homegrown garden dinner.